Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to show how to complete a full acrylic nail from beginning to end, but instead of using tips, I'm kind of going to show how you're able to do it with paper nail forms. I actually got these in a big, really big roll. I think there's about 500 in here, but now there's like probably 300. Still, it's a lot, but I'm going to just show how to build, sculpt, and make a perfect apex with just paper nail forms. So when you use a nail form, pretty much if you think about it, each one of these is a nail. So that's why I prefer nail forms over nail tips, because in nail tips, they're a lot more messy with nail glue and everything. And in my preference, these stay a lot more better because it goes into your nail and it keeps like underneath your nail and it keeps it fully like natural, but it's not natural, but it's better than nail tips because nail tips are a lot more harder to remove and it can be a mess. So I'm just going to show you from beginning to end, sorry for the little stutter, but beginning to end, how to complete it, perfect apex, filing, shaping, buffing, and if you want, put a little gel on there and add a little bit of spice to it. So yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so for the beginning, we're actually going to start with the prepping. Now, most people when they're starting out, you would think prepping isn't like a necessity when it comes down to doing the nails, but it is. So you can get a lot of products for prepping very, very cheap. Now, the products that this is my first ever dehydrator that I've ever gotten when I first started nails, which was about a year ago, and it's a Beauty Secrets dehydrator, and I believe it's really good. Like, I don't really know the ingredients but to know if it's good or not, but it has really, really worked for me. And I used to use ASP. There was a different acidless primer that I used to use, but I had to switch to this one because the other one was just not doing good, and it just continued to fall off and pop, and it was just a really big mess. And when you are prepping, this is one thing that you really need is a good cuticle pusher and scraper. At the end, you want to make sure it's a scraper. You don't want just a cuticle pusher, not even like this. So when I first started out, I had a plastic cuticle pusher, and those are terrible because the end is like a plastic rubber kind of substance, but you need like a really good metal cuticle pusher and scraper. The scraper is for when you're going around the sides, just to make sure that you get everything. Like, even after you push, as you guys can see, it's really scraping up more dead skin that is on the nail. So that's what you need off of the nail, because all of that contributes to having the acrylic nail stay on your finger. So usually what you start off with, and yeah, this is pretty busted file, so I just use it on my nail because obviously you don't want to use that on clients because you have a high risk of getting them any infection or problems with their nail beds or skin. So you need everything clean, especially the metal cuticle pushers, because those are cleanable. Like, you're able to put them in disinfectant, but these you always have to throw them out after each client. You can't just reuse them. So what you're going to start off with is filing the nail, just simple filing, but you don't want it a grit file. You don't want a high grit, or I believe the higher the grit, the smoother it is, and the lower the grit, the more rough and potentially kind of like a razor for your nail. So you really want like a low grit to just kind of buff the shine off the nail. And if you guys are on TikTok or anything and you really see like how to prep, you really got to make sure that it's a good way. So this is what I do. I just kind of use, and this is a very, very smooth surface. So this is just to buff without doing any harm to the nail bed, and it will start to look like that. So that's perfect. You don't need to go anymore. You just need it cloudy. And what you have to do is you can't just use just whatever you want. You have to do the dehydrator first. Now, this is Beauty Secrets. I got this dehydrator from Beauty Secrets. Actually, I got it from Sally's, but it's a very, very good dehydrator. And as you can see, you don't want to put a lot. You just want to get a thin layer and just go right around like that. And yeah, so you coat that. And when you get a primer, you don't want to get a primer that doesn't have acidless. Yeah, you want an acidless primer. So you just get that. And then you always put the primer on second, because that's what you use before you put on the nail. Now, when you are putting it on the nail, try not to flood the cuticle so much, because that could lead to infection and other problems that you do not need. So once you're done with that, actually, I just realized something. Even now, I'm still like, sometimes I get messed up. So when you put on dehydrator, you don't want to ever do this. You never want to touch your nail, because your fingers always have oils. Even if they feel clean, they always have oils. So before you put on dehydrator and primer, you have to push back your cuticles and do the scraping. Now, most people just use a drill bit for their nail drill to just get everything in one. You can do that, but if you're just starting out, I don't really recommend doing that, because you have a really high risk of like potentially hurting your client or yourself. So I wouldn't really do that if you're first starting. And when you're scraping, you kind of just want to get it like this. You want to get like a smooth side and just scrape. Like, just kind of lightly go around and just make sure you're not hurting yourself. And if you don't, if you are like feeling hurt like by it, just stop and try to find like a new kind of technique that really works for you. This really works for me, so that's what I use. And whenever you get like more dead skin on you, you just want to brush it off and everything like that. I like to use alcohol, but if you don't have like everything to do that, I just use alcohol and I rub it in. And then after that, that's when you can use your dehydrator and primer for the nail. It's when you just put on one coat of that, and then you move it over there. Then you can get your acidless primer, and you put it on the nail, like so. And there you go. And now we can move on to the good step with the forms. And one more thing, if your brush ever gets, actually this is the brush I use. It's a, I think it's a number 10. Yeah, it's a number 10 round precision brush that I got from Sally Beauty. And it was very expensive, I do have to say. But if you're at like a good level, like an intermediate level where you feel very comfortable with using a brush and a Kolinsky hairbrush, I do recommend getting this one. But sometimes price is really hard, because most brushes in Sally Beauty is very priced high. So yeah, so I got this for about $25, I think $25 or $30. It wasn't bad considering how good it is when it comes down to all the clumps. If you do get clumps in your brush, well, you have to not get clumps in your brush, but sometimes even I still do, but they're not clumps, they're just like there. But if you just do, like, let's pretend this is the monomer. Well, this is actually acetone. I just use it before a client or anything, because I get all the excess stuff. Even if you don't see anything, I just use it to get everything out. So that's what I use, and I just kind of brush it. So this is like practice even with monomer. So you get it into the liquid, and see how it's like very, very thick, like with the monomer. You just go like that, and you just brush. You don't ever just squiggle it around. I'm not even going to show that, because that easily instantly ruins your brush. I have so many stutters. It instantly ruins your brush and is terrible, because you get more acrylic in there easily. Even if your monomer isn't clean, you can still easily get like acrylic in it, and yeah, it just messes everything up. So you just want to shape it perfect, and this is what it should look like all the way across. It should look very, very clean and crisp. That's how you know it's Kolinsky hair. So yeah, let's get into the process of building that apex, building that nail. And you guys should know after this video pretty easily how to build your own nail. But I have to remind you, you can't use a technique from everyone, because you need your own technique. Unless you're very good at following more directions from other people, I had to build my own technique so that I can get a pretty good understanding of how to build it with forms and without forms, with tips and everything. So finding your own technique is a key point in like your career, so it really helps out. So let's get on into it. Okay, so when you are starting off, some forms and some nail forms are all different. These are just like a basic nail forms. I actually got these from Sally Beauty, by the way. I get most of my products from Sally Beauty because that's where I first started. It's kind of like my hometown. That's what I call it. Like, I call it like my homeland. So when you are starting, you can pull the form off, and sometimes you just think that this is just there for nothing. It's actually there so that when you can use your form, you take off that little tab right there, and you actually put it on the nail form, like so. You just put it on there, and it doesn't matter if it's straight or not, but you just put it on there, and then it's perfect to reinforce the nail. So it really reinforces, and that's what you do after you put it on. You just kind of squiggle it back and forth to make a better apex so it's more curved. And then when you are going to put it on the nail, some nails, if you have like a really fat finger like me, and I'm so embarrassed of it, you need to use the little dotted at the top and you split it, which I'm going to do in a second. But if you don't, you just put it just like this, and you would flatten it like that and put it on your nail, and make sure that it's under your nail and not on top, because that makes for a better reinforcement and everything on the nail. So now that we're going to use our thumbnail, because to me that's like a more better preview of how to do it, you just want to take it like that and make sure you don't get it reconnected, because then it's all over from there. You can't unconnect them. So I kind of put it from side to side and make sure that these are very symmetrical, so that they're not like up here and one's all the way down here, because that makes for a really hard way to do a nail. And yeah, it's all factors, just like when you're prepping. And when it's like this, you just kind of push it up, make sure that it's all perfect underneath your nail, everything, and you just like pinch it underneath, like so. You just pinch it, and yeah. And when you're also doing these forms, I actually learned this about this year, you really have to watch when, like, down the barrel, you really have to watch how you're making the nail. I have to make them down to about here on each side, because then it gives me room to file underneath and make it a perfect, like, they call it a barrel because it's like a perfect swoop on top. And you'll notice that with real like nails, after they go to the salon, you'll notice to see that they have like a barrel kind of look. And yeah, so everything on a form, it takes a lot of practice, but with like the right help, your own technique, everything, it all helps like a lot. So for starters, picking up your bead, that's where a lot of people like look for other types of ways to pick up their bead. Sorry, I'm just going back in with acetone. But they always say to squish in your brush and then to get all your bubbles. Now, that is essential. I know I'm really bad at like showing ways to do that, but I don't ever squish my brush because I've had a really bad experience with that. I've gone through like 5 brushes doing that technique, but instead, let me just get out the acetone so I don't corrupt the monomer. Instead, I actually go in with a like swooping motion, like a sweep. So let me just get the monomer right out there. So if you guys can see this, I go in like at an angle, and I don't push in hard. I just kind of go down and then like that, because it all gets into the brush. And then when you're going to pick up your bead, you just kind of hold it there for a little bit and then go in again. Sorry, I got like a shaking hand today. Yeah, that wasn't too good. That is a very dry bead because it's very hard and it instantly cures. So that's when you have to go in better and kind of go a little bit harder. And then you go in and swoop out like that. And you just tap, tap, hold. And if you watch like a lady on TikTok, I actually watch her, Queen Diana, that's where I got like this technique from. Anyway, so when you're putting out your first bead, I really try to get it on the part where the nail meets the form, where the natural nail meets the form. And as you guys can see, that was a pretty bad bead because of the fact that it was very hard and not very malleable. Malleable meaning movable and flexible. to work with. So that was a bad bead. You don't want to do that. But we're just going to go in better, swoop in, and get like a more wet of a bead so that you're able to really, oh, okay, yeah, okay. That was stupid. So you're really able to work with it and not really have a problem with that. I don't know what is with my powder today? My powder's been working for the past few weeks. I don't know what's going on with it today. So yeah, you're just gonna go in, get more of a wet type of bead. Oh, this is starting to get weird. What's with it? Okay. It might be because when you have it all the way at the bottom, sometimes it's very hard to pick up a bead. So you can just take it and add it to another one when it's more ready to get added. Like, see that? It was so hard to pick up a bead. Oh my god. So I'm going to bring out my other powder that I had. And it's more filled. As you guys can see, it's more closer to the top. And yeah, I'm actually just going to do what I just said. You add it all the way at the top. And that really helps, like, your stock of powder. You never want to just... And I use Beauty Secrets. Each thing is only $12, which is a really good steal, if you ask me. Okay, anyway, back to it. So you're just going to go in and go tap, tap, and then you hold, like so. And there you go. There is the perfect bead. It's perfect for a thumbnail especially because... Oh, and I also forgot to tell you, I am going to be just doing more of a coffin square. So I'm not going to do a very long nail. They do make them so you can use them all the way to the front. I personally don't agree with that because it's not going to help when it comes down to that. Because it's very hard for a beginner to get used to it. So that's why I'm not going to do it. So when you are doing it, or cleaning your brush after each bead, which you really want to make sure you're doing, you just kind of go in and do the same kind of swooping motion so that you can keep your brush very clean. I'm very sorry. Some people are just loud as hell. Anyway, so now, as you guys can see, I'm starting to build that apex. We are going to also work on the front after I build the back by the cuticle apex and make sure everything is working fine, down the barrel, everything. And even at the front, you don't want it to be so thick where you like can barely file it and not make any difference. You really want to make sure that you are working as hard as possible to keep that like nail not too thick and not too thin. So that's why as you're working, you just keep looking and looking at that apex and at the like sides and the cuticle, everything. And yeah, so that's all a part of the form. That's why they say like more forms are meant for professional use, even though you don't even have to be a professional to use them. Like, I hate whenever things say professional use. Like with Kiss acrylic kits, they say that they're professional use, yet they're meant for learning. Like, it's really confusing. And yeah, so as you guys can see, it's more of a thin, like, it's back here is thick. Obviously you want that thick because right there is about your stress area, and stress area is where it matters to be very reinforced because the front is going to obviously dip down if you hit into anything. So you just want to make sure that you got everything reinforced and it won't break off when you hit something. Like, you got to really make sure that that's a more secure area. So now we are going to work on back by the cuticle area. See back here? That is also mattering because you don't want it overflowing your cuticle. So we're going to go in, and you want more of a wet, not too dry bead. So I'm going to get it more of a wet kind of consistency so that we can really get back by there. And just clean your brush like always. And with the precision tool that I have, brush that is, it really helps to get into the cuticle and secure that area so that you're not getting any type of area, like to get able to have water in there and other types of things. So That really helps when it comes down to that. And I'm going to probably need a little bit more of a bead back there. So let's kind of get a little bit of a wet bead just to put in there. So yeah, let's put that in there. So if you're ever seeing like you're missing anything or missing a spot, don't just think that filing is going to help. I know I'm a bad teacher because I do that too, even though I'm not even a teacher. Like, I don't want to teach about it, but it's good to just help out other nail techs like me. Sorry, I just shook it. Because some people just need the help. Like, I needed it when I was starting and I could not find it, so that's why I'm here to help out people who can't really find it, like find the help that they truly need. So as you guys can see there, that's where I mostly reinforce, is the apex. That's the apex. And as you guys can see, this is really missing a lot of acrylic, so that's where we're going to work on to get that good enough so that we also don't mess up the apex or the stress area. So yeah, that's the type of bead that you want for things like that. So then, with that, this was more like a 3-bead method. Like, there is 2, 1, 3 beads methods, but I'm mostly into the 3-bead because you go from the front of the nail, like the reinforcing part of the nail, down to the apex and the stress area, and then you go to the free edge and all that. So the reason why I also like nail forms is because as you're working with nail forms, you can create your own shape. So obviously you can do that with tips, yes, but I like nail forms because I don't have to worry about messing up the shape even when the tip is on. Mostly because when you're working with that, it can be a real pain if you gotta if you get the tip wrong, it's a real pain because then you just gotta rip it off, and that's why most nail techs use tips, because they're not really gonna do that. Obviously, they're not gonna mess it up, but yeah, so it's all a factor. It's all different for everyone, but I love nail forms because they are my favorite. As you can see, the apex is looking a little thick, but as I said before, it's not good to rely on the filing part of it, but at one one point is you can rely on it, but another point is it's not good to rely on it. Obviously, everyone has different opinions and thoughts on it, but when it comes down, it's not too thick to where you can't file it. So if it was like up to here kind of thickness, you might as well not even work on it any longer, because it's just gonna take your wind away, because that's happened to me so many times to where I could barely even file it and it was just so hard to work with. So that's when I'm going to show, obviously, in the next clip, how to use an e-file. If you guys didn't see my one video, I think it's a few videos below this. It's I review the nail file that I'm going to use. It's an e-file, and it's by AirC. That's kind of a hard name brand. It's a good brand. I love it, and I'll show you the drill bits, everything that I got to really help get a perfect filing and shaping and everything all in one. So yeah. Okay, so now we are at the finally part of your acrylic nail experience. So to find out if it's ready or not, I usually use my brush end, but since it's kind of soaking to get everything out of it, you can just use it, and if you hear it, it's completely hard. That's what you want. So now when you're taking off the nail form, don't just rip it off. You pinch from underneath the nail, and you'll see it just undo it. And then, well, since I had them split, it just kind of came off easily. So that was good. Now, if you look, the barrel is looking hideous. So I just go underneath that with a hand file, and I use the more grittier side to just make sure that you get everything underneath it, and just really use it to file all the way around the sides and make sure that you got a good shaped to your desired shape. You don't want it looking bad and then just saying, it was good enough. You just want to keep trying. You never want to give up. That's one thing that is a fact. You never ever want to give up. So that is the desired shape that I'm going for, is more like a square, but I'm not going like a hard shaped square. I'm just going like a coffin square. Like it's a bad shape, I know, like it looks bad on the nail that I did, but this is mostly to just show the apex and everything. So if you guys did not watch that video, this is the nail drill that I have, and it's really good, except I really have to invest in getting a better one. But that is how you put in the nail drill bits. You just kind of push them in. You don't use a locking mechanism, so that's not too helpful. So yeah, if you do have a very thick nail, I recommend getting a carbide bit. And this is a coarse carbide bit. I got it from Sally Beauty, obviously, and it's very expensive. It's about $17 I got it for. And yeah, so you just want to try not to get it too thick. So when you are filing, you have to make sure that you're looking at all the factors. Of course, all the factors, like I say, is making sure that apex, don't get this too thin and this too high, because that just will look weird, obviously. You want it all more of an even, or like a downhill kind of look. So the way that I go is from side to side, like I kind of swoop like that. And once in a while, you just go to the other side just to make sure you're making everything even. And make sure you're getting all of the parts. So, yeah. This is a very loud drill, if you guys can hear that. It's loud, but when it's not, because sometimes it'll glitch. I call it an actual glitch. Sometimes it'll glitch and it'll make it extra loud. And you like, it's really hard to even hear with it because it's very vibration. And when you look on it to buy it, it actually says the vibration is very low. So that's why I was kind of like, damn, all right. They kind of gypped me on that. But yeah, so obviously when you're doing it, I just use this mostly to thin out everything and make sure that you're able to use the carbide bit to make sure it gets on the bare acrylic. So that's what I'm going to do with that. So obviously it looks very buffed. That's when you take it out. And I'm very sorry for how long this video is. I just want to get in like every factor, every aspect of how to do a good, very good acrylic nail. Oh, okay. That's one thing that's a problem with this drill, because it has no locking mechanism. You can't really do it right. Anyway, so that's when you go in again with the, and you want to make sure it's a safety bit so that when you put it on bare skin, it doesn't hurt because of the round tip. So then that's for taking down the thickness. So obviously it's a pretty thick nail. So I'm just going to continue with the filing. And because of how long the video is, I don't really want to keep filing and showing, but this is how you do it. You just kind of go a swoop. And when you're working on that cuticle area, that's when you really need a carbide bit to just really clean up around those cuticles and just kind of work on the thickness. And yeah, so I will show it after I'm clean, after filing, shaping, buffing, everything. And we'll just put on a good old top coat. So after shaping, filing, and buffing, obviously you can see all of the dust. It's terrible. So obviously you're just going to shake out a little bit and get off the dust on your palm. But I'm going to show you the difference when you use a brush and alcohol. So see, this is after you use a brush. As you can see, look at all that dust in that cuticle area, which is obviously a factor when it comes to keeping your nails on. So you can see that dust in there. And when I got my alcohol and a very, I actually got these cotton pads from the dollar store, and they have proved to be immaculate when it comes, like, I know it's a really big word, but it's literally immaculate. So, you just want to put a little bit on your cotton pad and look at the difference when you use it, and really rub it into that cuticle area, onto the nail, and just get everything. Just look at that difference. Like, it has gotten every piece of dust. And obviously you can use it on your hand a little bit just to get out everything. But my main concern is the nail. Like, that got everything. And after shaping and filing, as you can see, that's the apex. Sometimes the apex can, I don't know the word, I think it's differ or differentiate, whatever. It can act different for each type of nail. I like to use like a little bit of a bigger apex because I have a more bigger nail, but I know that's not a good thing to do, but it's mostly about style for me. So now that that's over with, I don't really want to go through the whole thing with putting on gel and all that, but I will just show you easily what it looks like when you put on a gel top coat versus, or not versus, but like when you just put on a gel top coat and right afterwards it would be cured and obviously look like that. Now you can use like a color or anything, but this was the top coat I used and it's very good. It comes out just like that after you cure and I love it. So I also got this from Sally Beauty. It was about $10. Now when you're also in nails, it's gonna get pricey, but if you go really look into it and try to get different types of things and get better pricing like coupons and try to look for better substitutions, it does not have to be what you want it to be or what you expect it to be. Like some people get Valentino, I get Beauty Secrets. Some people get really high-end monomer. I just get Mia Secret because it's high-end to me, but most people don't think it's high-end. But yeah, that's pretty much the ending for this video because that's everything that's comes out to. There's the apex and the free edge and everything, and look at that. I love that shape. Like that is my favorite shape on the planet. But yeah, so after everything, shaping, filing, that's what you get. And obviously you would repeat that for all 4 nails, and if you're doing both sets, good luck because that can be kind of hard. So yeah, and obviously you also want to make sure you're adding cuticle oil. I got this blend from Spencer's, but I added a tea tree oil to it because I found it to really help the skin stay hydrated. So yeah, that's I'm out. That's it for the video. So I hope you guys did enjoy, and I hope you guys found a really good understanding on how to do acrylic nails. And yeah, just comment below what you guys think I should do next, and if you guys need any more questions, tutorials, let me know and I will do them. See you later. Bye.